What is critical race theory? Legal scholars developed critical race theory when they realized that the civil rights movement had changed the laws, but not the realities for most people of color. Prior to the civil rights era, African American, Native American, Mexican American, and Asian American children were required to go to separate and inferior schools. One of the key victories of the civil rights era was the 1954 Brown versus Board of Education Supreme Court decision, which made segregated schools illegal. But 60 years after this court decision, we have yet to attain educational equality. Critical race theory helps us to understand why. Critical race theorists explain that racism is deeply embedded in our society. We don't need laws that mandate segregation to have segregated schools. Today, Black and Latinx children continue to attend segregated and less well-resourced schools for several reasons. These reasons include income and wealth inequality, racial discrimination in the housing market, and white parents' refusal to send their children to schools where they are not in the majority. Racism is not just people wearing KKK hoods or shouting racial slurs, although those things do happen. Racism informs every aspect of society, from the way voting districts and school districts are drawn to decisions about which children belong in gifted programs. In sum, racism is deeply embedded in our society. Another major principle of critical race theory is that race is a social and historical construction. The idea of race is not based on biological differences between people. Instead, it's an idea that Europeans developed to justify the colonization of the Americas and the enslavement of Africans. For critical race theorists, race is important because it is used to divide people, not because it points to any biological differences between people. But the fact that race is socially constructed does not make it any less real. In fact, critical race theorists reject a colorblind approach and insist on the importance of listening to and centering the voices of people of color. Critical race theorists recognize that every person has a unique positionality that informs their view of the world and their place in the world. Your positionality is a combination of all of your identities and shapes how others see you as well as how you see the world. Finally, from a critical race theory perspective, the only good reason to study race is to work towards the elimination of racial oppression. In sum, critical race theory is a body of scholarship that emerged from legal studies. Four of its major principles are: racism is deeply embedded in U.S. society, race is a social and historical construction, your positionality shapes your view of the world, we need to eliminate racial oppression. So being anti-critical race theory thus means disagreeing with one or more of these principles.